I think that the competition was saved by Monday. I think there was a real danger on Sunday night. You're looking at, and there's a real danger that you're going to get 7 Europeans in the last 8. And the thing is going to be a kind of replay of the Champions League, only without any authentic fans. I think that looked like a real problem. And then Monday saved it, with Fluminense beating Inter Milan. And then that game between City and Al Hilal. We were doing radio during the game. And you remember I told you the first half was 1-0 to City, and it could have been 5 or 6. But you might remember that I said at half time, I think City are in problems here. And that's the way it turned out. That fabulous game with Al Hilal. So now you have 2 very different halves of the draw, where one half of the draw is exclusively European with 3 big hitters in there, and the other you've only got 1 European team, 2 Brazilians and 1 Saudi, and there's no idea who's going to come through from that, and that gives a sense of jeopardy and a sense of glamour. So I think I don't know if Miguel agrees, but I think that Monday saved the tournament.
Yeah, definitely, and we are in the possibility of having so many matches, so many days of competition to end up with an Intercontinental Cup final anyway. So that will be fun. And yeah, I do believe that the possibility of having a side where we can have at least a semi-final without Europeans, or at least someone in the final which isn't European, will help pretty much to raise the profile of the competition, as the competition wants to be a representation of world football and not just like the congregation of the best in Europe playing together against each other. So it will be very interesting from one side to see Europeans battle one another more for prestige than anything else. I still rank PSG as the heavy favorites, although Real Madrid is improving day by day, and it will probably. I felt sorry for Monterrey, because if they had gone through, it will be a much more interesting tie in the semi-finals than to be just Borussia Dortmund, and we're still not going to have to enjoy the possibility of that Bellingham brothers match to match with that suspension, that yellow card. But on the other side, I still agree with him. I think Palmeiras has the mindset and the ability to adapt to this sort of competitions that can get them through. And also watch out for Al Hilal. They proved with Real Madrid in the first match of the tournament.
Yeah.
They proved again against City. Although money poured into the club over the past 2-3 seasons has created an identity, which is something that probably Saudi Arabian football was searching for. More than just signing names, they were trying to forge an identity by bringing good players, but also interesting managers. And this is a side that has been coached for so long by Jorge Jesus, which, as Tim knows, is very good at tactics. So he probably, much of the concepts that they are using were already there when Jesus was manager. And also by bringing in a guy who is also very good on tactics, as Inzaghi, helps to at this.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
After the game, the 3 Brazilians are in the starting lineup for Al Hilal. All of them talking to the Brazilian media, and all of them, unprompted, are saying, "Yeah, we're really showing the strength here of football from the Arab world, from Saudi football." It's like they've really bought into the collective concept, of this is a moment for football in Saudi Arabia to show itself. And they're talking to the Brazilian media. They don't have to say this. You didn't really expect them to say this, but all 3 of them, unprompted, made that point. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, at the same time, it's probably the final objective. It becomes so entrenched in you for the time that you are there that it comes natural. And for some, it may look more forced than others. Cristiano the other day said he belonged to Saudi Arabia despite being Portuguese, and that he wants to stay there to help develop football and whatever. And you know that it's Cristiano talking, and he's probably talking about money and has to excuse himself for earning so much. But then you have this sort of players that probably wouldn't be big stars in Champions League teams, but then go to Saudi Arabia and they are someone. They know that if things work out, if Saudi Arabia do raise their profile, they will be pioneers. They'll be forever remember the guys who were there at the beginning, the guys who were there at the time when football really rose up and started to really represent a side of the world that was unrepresented until now. So that's a very interesting take on those sort of players that move there, especially the ones at Al Hilal.
I don't think people realize the power and the impact of the statement, "I am somebody." you know, I am somebody, how much that means for the human condition. Martin Luther King, of course, understood that. And Jesse Jackson, his successor, I've been in sort of one of these sort of like kind of like breakfast, you know, meet Jesse Jackson kind of breakfast at City Hall in London. And Jesse Jackson made us all to, you know, all of us say, I am somebody. I am somebody. I mean, I'm not taking the mickey out of it. I'm saying I genuinely understand that. And there may be sort of 5 or 10% or whatever percentage uplift it gives you when you go and express yourself on the football pitch, because somebody else is trying to say to you, no, you're nobody. And you say, whoa, 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 I am somebody. And I think on Monday, the other way I would look at it is that it was the moment, if there was any doubt, that the European clubs started taking this seriously, and they realized, whoa, them lot are some bodies. And
so also the moment when for the rest of the world, keep hope alive, keep hope alive.
Yeah.
That's what was going on Monday.
Mate, I'm the one who does that accent, okay? Trust me.
Do I get the gig? Do I get the gig?
No, not in my lifetime. You don't get